Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh, Shemel, Shabbat, Shem, Rakakwadash. Shalom to the host of the elect out there. And the Most High is only dealing with the elect of Israel. The ones that are going to be delivered, mainly out of Babylon the Great, is the elect. We're going to be saved. Salvation is all about being saved from impending danger. That's what it means. Not, oh, I'm saved from a world of sin. No. The word, when you look up the word salvation, mainly in the New Testament, it's talking about you being in a house or a building on fire, and the firemen come and they, pull up a ladder or put a gigantic mattress or airbag to tell you to jump out of it. You might be 3 stories up, not a big jump, and they tell you jump, you're going to be all right. You listen to the firemen, you jump, and you're good. And they what happened was the act of salvation took place. So when the Lord, when you go to the New Testament, I'm not dealing with the Old Testament, but it's in the Old Testament too. But I'm dealing with the New Testament because that's what Christians mostly deal with. When it speaks about being saved and being delivered and salvation, it's talking about being saved from sudden death, impending danger. All right. So these Christians don't understand what's going on. But anyway, let me go into my topic. This is the importance of understanding all of the prophecies of the Bible, mainly the ones that are getting ready to take place. Like a major one that us here at the Great Millstone keep pushing is the charagma, the MOTB, the mark of the beast, in Revelation 13, verses 16 and 17. You saw this, you can read the whole chapter, but main point is 16, 17, 15, 18 verse. 18 verse mentions the 3 6s. That's what it's based off of. But anyway, we have gone through that to ad nauseum until it's nauseating. So when it comes, what are people going to say when it comes to pass, and they kind of say that this makes sense about the Revelation 13, 16, and they're going to think about things. They're going to think about various religious leaders, or they're going to come down to the different Israelite groups, and then GMS is going to be the premier group that's going to come into their head, because we have GMS. I'm not saying that all the other camps don't teach it, because Sakari, of course, teaches it. And some other camps, I believe GOCC does teach it, or used to teach it, whatever the case may be. Even HODC teaches it, but there's no videos on it. They don't push it. We are the premier group that pushes the MOTB. So if you can say, well, there's no videos up, y'all, you ain't looking, you ain't searching hard enough. We did countless videos on, I'm doing a video right now. And then you have favorite nemesis, General Dunyalaga. That's his title is this month. Let's see what his title is going to be next month. He keeps putting up counter videos on the mark, and he's gonna look foolish when it actually comes to pass, because his people are going to come and ask some questions if they don't leave already. So it's going to be a major shakeup. And the reason why he's saying it's different than what we're saying, or other people can't see it, well, I don't know, let's wait and see, is because Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai has not opened up their eyes to see. The prophets were known as seers. When you look up the word seers, the Hebrew word there, if I'm not mistaken, is ra'ah. I'm almost positive. Matter of fact, I'm positive. You can prove me wrong. The word for seer is actually see something. He's a seer. What does it mean he's a seer? That means he sees something that's going to come before it comes. It could be a year before it comes. It could be 6 months before it comes. It could be 1,000 years. So the prophets, the end time prophecies that the ancient prophets, the Jeremiah, the Isaiahs, the Ezekiels, the Habakkuk, the Habakkuk's, all the different Joels, they all, the major prophets that they call them, they all see these visions in different ways, in different forms. And John, the apostle, one of the 12 apostles, which was the last survivor of the 12 apostles, he received similar visions to what Daniel and the other prophets of old saw. So he's kind of like an ancient prophet coming back. Definitely one of the ancient prophets coming back, whether he be Daniel or Isaiah or whoever, Jeremiah. Those are the major prophets. And you got the minor prophets that see visions. So, so it's important to know, these prophetic scriptures. So now what we did was, and we're going to go back to it. Let's see how the Most High pushes me. But I thought about it all this last week about going into like the after camp classes, which we did one last night. And I said, I first opened with Daniel 9, verses 24 to 27. Then I went into Daniel chapter 8, the whole chapter. And I kind of push it out there for anybody that wants to do it, raise your hand. Nobody really raised their hands. But I did say this. I said I want more of a newer brother, somebody that's been in this thing for maybe a year, 2 years or so, maybe 3 years, which is a lot of time. But then again, it's not a lot of time, but it's enough time where I feel that you should be a teacher by now. So I kind of threw it out there. A couple of the brothers or men or elders or becoming elders or whatever kind of raise their hand. I'm saying not you, because I already know that you know. I want some of the newer brothers, like I said, they've been in this thing a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, even 4 years, 5 years. And they were kind of most of the men in the lineup, they kind of had that look on their face. Oh, I don't know. I haven't did this in a long time. I haven't gone through this particular scripture. I wish you would have asked me about Revelation 13 because I went through it. You know what I'm talking about. But so a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them kind of had that. I hope I get this right, and the pressure's on me, and I know how to put pressure on people sometimes, which I don't mean to. But you got to know these prophetic scriptures. You got to know these. I'll give General Netanyahu got credit. He goes into a lot of prophecies. He goes into a lot of good things, but he goes off. He might be on course 90%, 95%. Then that last 5%, he'll go left. He'll go left. But for the most part, he does go into a lot of prophetic scriptures, which he's on point on. So I'm not knocking him on that. But when they go into the lake of fire is a burning hell, eternity, he definitely went left. When he says the MOTB is sin, and sin in all its forms, whether it be political or religious. What the hell does that mean? How can you sin politically? You vote for the wrong guy, but that's that used car salesman approach. He comes with them quick words, You go to say, but no, wait a minute, I haven't finished. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, so I said something good about it. He'll never say anything good about me. He said he said in one of the last videos about 2 weeks ago, he said them guys, they don't know nothing. They call these guys double honors to the elders and apostles or whatever. He said them guys don't know nothing. Oh, really? Most of this stuff that you go through, we go into the same thing. So how can we not know nothing? We got the 12 tribe sign, you got the 12 tribe sign. So how can we know absolutely nothing? Huh? Anyway, not to get into the subject of the IUIC or other camps, but coming back to this topic, the importance of knowing all the prophecies of the scriptures. And I'm pretty sure I will get some feedback from this, and other videos that will be put up by maybe some of the apostles and maybe some of the bishops and the other elders of the state camps, because it's important to know the prophecies. Revelation 19, it says, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. If I'm saying it right, there's Revelation 19. I believe you can start at 10 verses, maybe in the 10th verse. So when somebody goes out and says, I'm saying this in the name of Jesus, when they say that, then you can ask them, what does this prophecy mean in Revelation 11? What is this? Well, I'm not good on the prophecy, but you said you say you speaking in the name of Jesus. If you speaking in the name of Jesus or Yahweh Shai, he comes in the spirit of prophecy. Matter of fact, let me prove that so you don't say, oh, I made it up. Revelation 19. I believe it's in the 10th. I was going over it the other day. Revelation 19. I'm going to start at 10. It was not 10, it's like 11 or 12. Nope, it's in 10. I was right. Revelation 19, verse 10. So anybody says, I'm speaking through the spirit of Jesus. When they say that, when they make that statement, then that means that they ate the whole book. They know all the prophecies. So guess what? Let's go into the prophecies. Let's go into Daniel 7. What does that mean? Daniel 2, the feet of it, you know, the head of gold. What does that mean? You know, Babylon the Great in the book of Revelation. What does that mean? Isaiah 14. What does that mean? Because they just said that they're coming in the spirit of Jesus, right? So they should know all the prophecies, which they don't. Or vocab, you want to mess vocab up, ask them about a prophecy in Revelation. He'll start stuttering and mumbling. It says, and I fell at his feet to worship him. This is an angel, by the way. Yahweh Shai showed himself in chapter 1 of the book of Revelation. But the messages that was given to him were by angels. Go to Revelation 10. It was an angel that came down, handed in the little book, which represents the scriptures. What we have. So there was times when Yahweh Shai showed himself, like I said, first chapter. But there was other times where Yahweh Shai sent his angel. It says, and I fell at his feet, which is an angel. Matter of fact, you know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. Right. Blessed are they which is called unto the marriage. That's Matthew 22. When we go out on the highways and byways, we do these videos. We're inviting people to the marriage. The only ones that can come are the elect. Supper of the Lamb, and saith unto me, these are the true sayings of the Most High. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren. This is an angel talking. So we're angels in bodies. All right. The angels which left their first estate, that's talking about us that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai, worship the Most High. For the testimony of Yahweh Shai is a spirit of prophecy. Any pastor, bishop, or whatever in the church, I'm talking about the church, say, I'm speaking in the name of Jesus. Can I get an amen? I'm coming in the name of Jesus. They should know all the prophecies. If they don't, they need to shut the hell up. The Lord is not dealing with them. So prophecy is what? The testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. So if you don't know these prophets, well, I don't know that book. I don't know that. You have no business being out there on the highways and the byways. And really, the IUIC, they have no business, and the rest of them, they have no business being out there on the highways and the byways because they don't know all the prophecies. When they teach this madness, the MOTB is sin in all of its form, whether it's religious or political. And he's going to have to explain himself because there's going to be a major shakeup. Anyway, let me get into my subject here. So now I said last night, if you watch the video, it's on Apostle Gabar's main page that we do the lives on, the street speaking. It's also on there, and some other of the men had videotaped it and put it on or taped it, recorded it rather, and put it on their sites. I didn't even get a chance to watch it, but it was all right because after a while the spirit got into it and everybody's focus was there. I looked at the men out there and they were all focused when we got into it, and I explained to them. I said it's important. I said Daniel chapter 8 already took place. Daniel chapter 8, Daniel chapter 11 is history. I started off with Daniel chapter 9 because you have pastors. You got this one guy, Dr. Toussaint Amos C. Adams, or whatever his name is. And I did some research on him. I did a couple of videos on him because somebody rolled up on him to try to convert him to being an Israelite. And he kind of did some fast talking. So I did, was checking out his videos and where he came from. He came from a seminary school, which is controlled and operated by white people. That particular seminary school that he went to, cemetery, mostly when you go to the campus, mostly white people. You see a Negro, like a token Negro here and there. So I was watching one of the videos that he did on, Daniel chapter 9, from the 24th verse to the last verse, which is the 27th verse. And he was on point. He was on point. And when he got to the end of it, he went left. He started going into the Antichrist, and he started going. Then he said, the 7 years is a 7-year tribulation period, which is not here yet. Daniel chapter 9 took place already. We could go back thousands of years ago. We go back, actually, 2,000 years. The fulfillment of that goes back about 2,000 years. So he's saying, well, that last 7, that's that nonsense that they put out there. That the Christians always, that's their go-to thing, the Antichrist and the rapture and all that. No, some idiot said that in the theological seminaries, they teach that. So all he did was regurgitate. Anyway, let's get back into this. So Daniel chapter 9 took place already. You can't go to Daniel 9 and say, well, this is going to happen in 2 years from now. Daniel chapter 9 in its entirety, the whole chapter took place already. It's history. Daniel chapter 8, the whole chapter took place. It's history. It has nothing to do with the end time prophecies and the Antichrist and so forth. Daniel chapter 11 took place already in its entirety. However, Daniel chapter 7 is yet, part of it took place. We're still in the middle of Daniel 7. The rest of the prophecies that come to pass. When you start from the 9th verse on down. Daniel chapter 2, part of it came to pass. When you go to about the 40th verse to the end, this is happening as we speak. The EU nations and NATO nations, the coming war with Russia and the NATO nations and so forth. That part is yet to come to pass. It's coming to pass partially, but it hasn't fully come to pass. But you can't take Daniel 9, you can't take Daniel 8, you can't take Daniel 7, you can't take Daniel 12 is going to come to pass, starting with the first verse. So it jumps up around in history. So what I did to the men out there last night, I said, well, why do we go through these prophecies if they already took place? I think somebody said one thing, somebody said another, and then I came back and I said, the reason why we look at these old prophecies, because it's a faith building. Because if the scriptures were actually written before these things happened, because people say, well, that was written after the fact. So the question is, if Daniel 8 was already written during the time of Daniel, which was he was under the Babylonian Empire, and then from the Babylonian Empire, he was under the Medo-Persian Empire. The Israelites were the southern kingdom, Judah, right? So if Daniel 8 is actually manuscript that go back actually to Daniel, then he was talking about things about Alexander the Greek or the Great, as they call him. So that said, well, wait a minute, man. This this is the book. This is the book that can't be compared to other books. This is that prophetic book. That's why this is the only book, the scriptures, the Bible. Go to any translation, go to Revelation 13, 16, 17, says pretty much the same thing. It speaks about a charagma. So we know it's going to come to pass. So anyway, this is what I did. I said to the men out there, I said, look, you know me, I go to the commentary just to see where their mind is at. And I said that they were either hit or miss. Well, they were hit on this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Daniel 8, verse 5. I'm not going to make this long. And as I was, and like I said, a lot of them brothers kind of gave me that look, that nervous look, that, you know, deer in the headlight look. Not all of them, but most of them, because we hadn't gone through it in a while, maybe a year, 2 years ago, but you're supposed to remember it. And I would say, when I first went to the school, Ariah would go over the prophecies over and over again. He was a prophecy man. You go to Revelation 11, Revelation 12, go to Daniel 12, link up to Ezekiel 14, and blah, 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 blah. And then we would come back 2 weeks later, he would go over some of the same scriptures again. As I would say, well, we went through that 2 weeks ago. So now I understand why he did that. Because when you do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's registered in your brain. You know, if you do it one time, you can forget about it or forget parts of it. You might quote, you might, you know, go to certain verses in that book. But if somebody says, well, what does the 2 verses above that mean? And then you stuck. That's why that's why it's important to know all these prophecies. So let me read this. Let me show you what the commentators say, the trained commentators. Daniel 8, verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, and he goat. Oh, and by the way, let me do this. I made a couple of videos saying that we know more than the prophets, and people got me. T.R. you going off again? See, I told you got demons in you, man. You talking about know more than the prophets. The prophets. Well, let me go to the 27th verse. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterward, I rose up and did the king's business. And I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. I didn't understand it. I saw these visions. The angels even explained the vision, like Daniel 7, the angel, the man in white explained it, and he still couldn't get it. Now let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go to the NLT. Let's see what it says there. So do we know more than the prophets? You got damn right we know more than the prophets. Those prophecies that they saw, that they witnessed, they didn't understand what they were talking about. They didn't know the meaning of the prophecies. We do. Then I, Daniel, was overcome and lay sick for several days. Afterward, I got up and performed my duties for the king. But I was greatly troubled by the vision and could not understand it. Well, you going off the heart. You see, I told you that the heart ain't right. That nigga ain't right. And there's a lot of these camps out there that if you roll up on them and you ask them to go into one of these prophetic breakdowns, they're going to get stuck. So let me come back over here. Verse 5. And as I was considering, behold, an he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, like the western side of the earth, not the uttermost west, but the west of the known world, which is like Europe. See, Europe is also known as the West. The other West is the Americas, North, Central, and South America. And touch not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. So now to the let's go to the and I put in Alexander. Alexander comes up 41 times. All of these guys are on the same page. They're all on the same page. So let's go to Cambridge, since I normally go to Cambridge, Bible for schools and colleges. Is it considered 5, verse 5, considering, paying attention, reflecting, not as Daniel 7 and 8, where the word is a different one, contemplating a he goat. For the he goat, though the Hebrew word is different, the leader of the flock as a symbol of a prince, ruler, such as Isaiah 14 and 9. What does that say briefly? Hell from beneath is moved to meet. This right here show you that hell is not a place where you burn forever. It's talking about like nations that have died are going to come back into power, kingdoms. Hell from beneath is moved to meet to meet you at your coming. The coming of what? Of the downfall of this man's system that stirreth up the dead for you, even all the chief ones of the earth, the leaders. It raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. Now, this is what I'm gonna do. This is Isaiah 14 and 9. This is what I'm gonna do. This is why it doesn't make no sense for you to sit down and talk with those so-called black conscious people. All that is number. I watch him. I go on Sonnetta's page. I watch a little 5 minutes, and I'm turning this motherfucker. You know. So it says. Then you got Captain Tazariak. He always goes on the show, and he's good friends. He said that I'm good friends, and that's my brother. And I love. Look, Sonnetta ain't my brother. He's an enemy of mine. He's an because he's an enemy of the Most High. So I never don't understand something, he'll bring Captain Cesariak on. Captain Cesariak will explain it to him. Well, the scripture said, cast not thy pearls before swine, because a month after, he going to be talking shit about the bruise. So where did I say I was going to go? Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14 and 9. How many of you out there, you can answer me on the comment, on the chat, comments, on the side. How many of you out there used to watch The Apprentice with Donald Trump? How many of y'all guys came on at Sunday nights? I got into it, man. Especially in the celebrity apprentices, where people would get fired, right? And there will be a task. They'll cut up into two separate groups, pitting against each other. And one group would have one task, the other group would have another task. And then they would have judges, as I remember. Well, this group won because they did what they were supposed to do. These guys came short. So what they'll do is they'll say, well, who was the leader of that group? So it might be a woman, it might be a dude or whatever. And you got to explain that why they lost. Now he might say, well, it was her because she kept saying, and the group was really following her. So I was the official leader, but she was an unofficial leader, and she promised me. And then sometimes they'll let the leader, survive, and they'll get rid of that one because the rest of the people, yeah, she sabotage this whole thing. But sometimes it's the leader. Normally it's the leader of that particular group. So it comes down to like one group, right? And then they go against each other. So this is what art. This is nothing but a big game of The Apprentice. That's all this is. Apprentice means to learn, right? But now in that series, which was a great series, because they tried to redo it with Arnold Schwarzenegger, didn't work out. Trump had the personality to get that thing popping. That dude is a trip. But so it would come down to the last person, the last two, and then they would have one guy. He's a one guy, one woman, or whatever. So now, when the groups got together, you usually had one person that was kind of a leader. They take the forefront, and there's like another person that kind of follows that other person. So they're hanging on the back of the main guy that's doing all the taking the leadership position. So they're winning along with them. So then he realized, he said, look, we're going to kick you off because you're not a real leader, because you're following this person. You're kind of playing behind him. Like if it goes bad, you kind of move to the side. Well, I wasn't down with that, but then you're with him. You know what I'm talking about. So the same thing with this truth right here. You got some guys that come into this thing, don't even know why they're in this thing. And they'll see somebody that they meet, maybe came in with a friend, and one guy is moving up in the ranks, and two guys, they're friends that came in at the same time. One guy's moving up in the ranks, the other guy, he's stagnant. Guess what? You're not one of the, most likely, you're not one of the chosen. And eventually, you are going to fall out. This is why guys fall out. And then another thing, if you notice, in GMS, not the other camps, guys that fall off, when they get ready to fall off, they get to the ears of other guys that are weaker than them. Oh, the tar and them, they're going off on that. They said this, that, and the third. I ain't with that. What you think? No, I ain't with that either. So a lot of times when guys leave, it'll be the main guy, the ringleader, demon, and then there'll be maybe 5 or 6 guys that'll go with him and then follow that guy. And then eventually they all fall off. They go back into the world. They become missile food. So this is like The Apprentice. So you got guys that are coming in here. What does it say in Philippians 2:12? Let everyone work out his own, paraphrasing, let everyone work out his soul salvation with fear and trembling, meaning you're responsible for yourself. You can't ride off the back of your best friend that came in. Scripture said, many are called, but few are what? Elect or chosen. Chosen means elect. So there's some guys that you can see, there's some guys that just don't go up in the ranks. They're kind of stagnant, and that's it. And then there's others that they become great teachers and great, the scriptures speak about some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. And that's true. It's no different today. The Apostle Paul and Peter said that you all show the same diligence. Paul said that, and Peter said, giving diligence to make that calling and election sure. I do this not because Apostle Gabar called me and said, Tahar, make sure you do your video. I'm just watching out. No, I don't call the Apostle Gabar or the elder this or bishop that and tell them, because if you're that high in the game, if I got to tell you and remind you to do some videos, you ain't one of us, man. So now, like I said, I'm going to show you that this is talking about reincarnation right here. I'm going to go to the NLT. I'm on an intermittent fast right now. I will be able to eat because last night I ate late. Some of the apostles came up. It was about 9 o'clock. So 9 in the morning was 12 hours. So I got to do at least 18. But what I'll probably most likely do is 20. I'll do a 24, a 20-4, meaning 20 hours intermittent fasting, just drinking water. And then the next 4 hours, I got a window to eat something. It says, bear with me for a minute. Isaiah 14:9. In the place of the dead, there is excitement over your arrival, meaning Esau kingdom going down. They can see, they talking about that, man. They said this place is going down. America not what it was in the 50s and post World War II or whatever. Everybody want to come to America. Everybody leaving America now. The spirits, meaning that's the German word. What is it? Uh, what is it? Geist. Geist is ghost or spirit. Like there's a term called Zeitgeist. Zeitgeist is German. Zeit means time, and Geist means ghost or spirit. So what it means, translating into the English, it means the spirit of the times. Like if there's a lot of protests, like in Vietnam War, there was a lot of protests, The flower children, the hippies, the free love, and all that. That was like a rebellion to the system. So that was the time, the spirit of the times, right? So that's what that means. So it said the geist or the spirits of world leaders and mighty kings long dead stand up to see you, or to see you fall. So what is that talking about? These leaders, these world leaders that you see, were world leaders back in the past coming back. Everything is reincarnated. That applies to Israelites, that applies to Esau, that applies to Ham. Everything is reincarnated. And there's no such thing as hell. Even Esau doesn't go burn in hell because the Most High ultimately, as the scriptures say, his mercies endure forever. What kind of God is going to make somebody burn in hell for everlasting to everlasting? So a trillion years you still burn in hell. That's stupid. That don't make no damn sense. Ultimately, the Most High is going to have mercy on Esau. He's going to destroy him, and the spirits are going to come back. But how the spirits going to come back? Would probably be mingled among other nations, probably be mingled among Ham, whatever the case may be. Whatever the case may be, the spirit of Esau would have to come back. Or if Esau doesn't come back, Esau is going to be in the spiritual realm, just floating around, just like we all do. When we sleep, Esau sleeps too. There's no torture up in heaven. So now, let me come back over here, and I'm gonna get ready to close. So these are good precepts right here. It says, on over its course carried it over the whole earth, meaning of the whole earth. He was coming from the west, meaning Europe, where Greece is in the west, not the uttermost west. The hyperbole, as in Daniel 4 verse 1. I'm not going to read that. Though it is true that Alexander, that's the he-goat. Now you ask a stupid ass Christian that's not trained at a theological cemetery, if you say, well, who's the he-goat? Oh, that's the Antichrist. Christians are stupid. So they're telling you right here, this is a scholar. And like I said, Alexander is written here 41 times. So all of these commentators say the same thing. A notable horn, see margin. This is explained, Daniel 8:21, to be Alexander himself. Touch not, this is from Ellicott's commentary for English readers. And he goat, this, according to Daniel 8:21, means the Greek Empire. It says, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia. That's in the scriptures. So it's not the Antichrist, you dumbass. And the great horn between his eyes is the first king. And he goat, this, according to Daniel 8, verse 21, means the Greek Empire. The large horn between the first king, being the first king of Alexander the Great. It may be remarked that the goat and the ram from this from the same contrast as the panther and the bear, matchless activity is contrasted with physical strength and brutal fierceness. Touch not the ground. An exact prediction of the early conquest of Alexander, meaning he moved fast. And I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna show you that. All he took down this vast kingdom called the Medo-Persian Empire, which was the Persians with the power at the time. This was the movie 300 was all about. You watch that movie, you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Who was fighting against them? The Greeks. Those Greek soldiers, by the way, those were Jakes. Alexander had a faithful soldier. He was a Jake, and his name was called Cletus Mellus. I looked him up. It tells you this guy was like pretty much like the top general of Alexander, and he was black, and his name was Cletus Mellus, which means Cletus the Black. Why was he called Cletus the Black? Because he was a so-called black man. Okay? So look it up. Just don't take my word for it. Be like the Church of Berea. All right? So you had Jakes fighting in there. They show you in the movie Troy, starring this guy. What's this guy? Brad Pitt. Now they showed a scene where they had the soldiers all lined up, and they showed the back of them, and all of them had long hair. They had cornrows. They were long cornrows. This is why Paul said what he said in 1 Corinthians, what is that? 1 Corinthians chapter 7 about men having long hair. It's a shame for men to have long hair. When you go to the commentators, they'll tell you in this commentation, this page right here, they'll tell you what it means. They said, well, back then, the young men prided themselves on having long hair, and they used to have cornrows. So there was Jake back then. You watch the movie Troy, and you'll see. So when Jake's coming like IUIC, you got a lot of these guys with the long dreads. Where they get it from? They got it because it's a fashionable thing. The dreadlocks. At one time, I remember when the dreadlocks, Benjamin first had the dreadlocks, people they stayed away from them. What's wrong with this nigga? Only comb his hair. So now it's a fashion. Now you got women with dread, the fine ass woman with dread. I'm not into women with dreadlocks. So don't come around me with that fucked up hairdo you got. And there's a reason why it's called dreadlocks. Dread means to be afraid of. Dreadful locks. Now it's a fucking fashion statement. So the leadership of the IUIC knows good and goddamn well, ain't no man supposed to be in the class with long ass hair or long hair. And that's why Paul cursed him out. And Paul didn't just say it to the church of Corinth. If Ephesus, if men had long hair, he would say, look, cut that damn hair. And during that time, Paul had long hair. Why did Paul have long hair? Because he was under the vow of the Nazarite. But he cut his hair. He cut his hair bald to partake of the Passover. So you guys make this thing, make us look stupid, man. Touch not the ground. An exact prediction of the early conquest of Alexander, all whose movements were characterized by marvelous rapidity. This is expressed by the wings of a fowl, a notable horn. See margin example, Daniel 8 verse 21, to be Alexander himself. Need I read any more? This pretty much says the same thing. This is a notable horn, a conspicuous horn, noticeable horn, a horn of sight, explained in, like you got the term, you stick out like a sore thumb. Daniel 8 verse 21, Daniel 8 verse 21, and the rough goat is the king of Gresha, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, to signify Alexander. Alexander the Great crossed the Hellespont in the spring of 334. Now watch how much damage he does in such quick time. Having having routed the Persian forces, that was the power he had to go against. That was the movie 300 was all about, which had assembled to oppose his advance. The Persians, which was a power, it was the medium Persians, but the Persians became the greater of the two. So you had the Medes mingled among the Persians, but the Persians came into power after the point. It started with the Medes, like Darius. You had more than one Darius. You have Darius right here that was defeated by Darius Cardone Manus. I'm gonna read on that. He was defeated by he ran and left his wife Roxanne. We were speaking about that when we were driving back from the camp. And I was telling them, brothers, there's a movie called When We Were Kings with this guy, the first 007 guy, Sean Connery and Michael Caine. Great movie. And they said, well, you're Alexander coming back in the reincarnation. So he started believing in that shit. But I'm not going to go all into it. So he said, well, if I'm Alexander, where's my Roxanne? So there was a girl by the name of Roxanne, and she was beautiful. And he said, I'm going to marry Roxanne. So the story goes that they said if a woman lays with a god, the woman catches on fire. So they had the marriage, and he went to kiss her, and then she bit him, and he bled. And they said, "No, that's not a god. Gods don't bleed." And they killed him. They beat the shit out of him, and they chopped his fucking head off. And then his buddy, Michael Caine, he survived, but he was all fucked up. They fucked his ass up. You know what I'm saying? So you can watch the movie, so then you can understand why he said, "This is my Roxanne," because Roxanne was a wife of Darius Cardomanus, and what he did was he left his wife. So what did Alexander do? He said, "I'm gonna take it. She's a good-looking woman. She's gonna be my wife." But he played both sides. By the way, he was real. He was cool with Israel. He was kissing Israel's ass. Going to the history, Alexander was raised up by an Israelite, which was not Socrates, Aristotle, along with his men. They were trained. The seven sages, the Aristotles, the Homers, then you got Socrates and so forth. These are all Jakes, and they were training up Esau. They were training up Esau. So anyway, let's get back into it. It says the great crossed to Hellespont in the spring of BC 334, having routed the Persian forces which had assembled to oppose his advance at the Granicus. And this came after the movie 300, King Leonidas. This came along after King Leonidas. And King Leonidas wasn't even that much of an important character. He was one of the heroes. The story goes that the real hero was this admiral of the Greek army. He really did the damage. King Leonidas and his 300, they were on a suicide mission. They said, "Look, you're gonna do this thing, but you're gonna take out a lot of motherfuckers, but y'all gonna you sacrificing yourself." So they said, "No, we'll do it. We'll kill ourselves. Fuck it." So you watch the whole movie. It says he marched through Asia Minor, receiving the submission of many cities and peoples, and in November BC 333, which this is about 6 months, because this was in the spring of 34, going into the the spring of 34, going into the mid-fall of 333. And remember, BC goes backwards, right? So you're counting backwards. defeated Darius. Now there was the man that put the order out to get to have the king of Babylon's throat slit, so to speak, when he received the vision, mene tekel, the handwriting is on the wall. That was a different Darius. That Darius was a Mede. This Darius was a Persian, Kadomanus, with great loss at Issus on the east border of. You can look, go to the maps. Cilicia, having reduced Tyre, you know about Tyre, that's in the scriptures, July 332. So he did a lot of he took down empires, man. He's moving quick. That's why I said he touched not the ground. I mean, he was moving quick. I said he marched through Palestine and conquered Egypt. Because who was in Egypt at that time? There was Jake. When the Ptolemies came in, they were saying that we are the Egyptians, and these were white people. That's why you got certain people say, "Well, the Egyptians are white." Here's pictures of them. Yes, they were white after they pushed out the dark ones. Founding in founding in memory of the event. The afterwards celebrated city of Alexandria, right? Because there was a big major library. That was like the world premier library that many wise men went to. They had all the books. That's what the whole concept of a library is. What? As a place of books. The concept came from this library. In 331, he crossed the Euphrates. So you get a picture in your mind where the Euphrates is located, and gave the final blow to the power of Persia. Who are the Persians today? The people of Iran. At Arbkla, a little east of Nineveh, that's in the scriptures, Nineveh's in the scriptures, and Nineveh was outside of Israel, and you had Israelites living in Nineveh. That's why you had the right of return, the right of the stranger, having made a triumphal entry into Babylon. Because where's Babylon? Babylon is off of the coast of the Euphrates, where Iraq is today. He took possession of Persepolis and Susa, the two official capitals of the Persian kings. Darius, meanwhile, had fled into Bactria, where he was slain by, because he ran from Alexander's army. He said, "We ain't gonna beat them. I'm gonna fuck my wife, Roxanne. Fuck that bitch." So when Alexander took Roxanne, I keep thinking about Roxanne. Roxanne want to be your man. You know, we all thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that was a spoiler war. That's what booty was all about. And if the woman wasn't with it, no, I'm not gonna do it. My husband's still alive. No, I'm not. You took it. Back in the ancient world, you took women, man. You took women. Grape wasn't a big deal. That's why you had men to protect the women. That's why you had more women on one man, because of a great protector. And you wanted to get a man and share yourself with other women, a man of a high rank and order, or a rich man. That's why the fathers made the decision. If the father made the decision that's in Exodus 21, we was going through that yesterday. If the father made a Hebrew man, took his daughter and said, "You're gonna marry this Hebrew man, and he's gonna give me X amount of money," he can do what he want with the woman. He can say, "You're gonna be my wife." She can say, "No, I don't like you." Tough titty. He gonna take it. So great was in the scripture. So see, you guys that all you're filled with emotions. You guys that are all emotional, man, you're in between two worlds. All right. It says pursuing after him 330. So this is how many years? 3.5 years. Secure. So he's taking things over. And remember, the Medo-Persian Empire, mainly the Persians, were vast. Remember, they had 127 provinces, which are states. Only his corpse, no, I'm sorry, on his corpse, Alexander then started for the future East. First, he invaded Hyrcania on the south of the Caspian Sea. So go to the ancient map. Then he passed on to Bac, Bac, Bactri, Bactri and Sagdana. You can look this up. After which, uh, retracting his steps, going back, he crossed 327. Remember, he ruled for how many years? From I believe it was from 20 years old to 32, and he got sick and died. Why did he get sick and die? The Most High put the spirit on him to die because the Most High set him up to fulfill prophecy. Then Indos, and found himself in the country now called the Punjab. The Punjabi people were Persians, and a lot of them is Jake, defeating Poros, a powerful Indian king. Elam. The Persians are Elam. It's even in the scriptures. I think it's 2 times in the scriptures where it mentions in India or Indian, which is the in the land of Elam. That's why they were called Indians. Indian king, he subjugated the country, and then when a large fleet sailed down the Indus of its mouth, tense at 326, he returned through these words of Gedrosia and Carmania. Carmania. When you look up the word Carmania, that's another word for the Persians. If you look up the word Carmania, it will take you to this encyclopedia called Encyclopedia of the Persian People or something like that. So when you go to what is that? Second Ezra's 15 or 16. I'm 15. It's got to be in 15, if not 16. It speaks about the Carmanians that they're going to join forces with with Ishmael. So those are the Persians, which are the people of Iran, which are the Persians, which are actually Elamites, north of the Persian Gulf. To Persepolis, and afterwards 325 to Susa. In 324, he was again in Babylon. The ambassadors from Greece and other parts were waiting to salute him and greet him as the conqueror of Asia. He was planning further conquests, in particular an expedient into Arabia when he was seized, arrested, or raped with a what? A fever, which after 11 days carried him off. So that was June of 28 BC, 323, at the early age of 32, meaning he got sick and he died. Why did he get sick and died? Because the Most High put the spirit on him to move fast. So from 20 years old to 32, he did it. He took down this vast kingdom, and then he just got sick and he died. They used herbs and all that. They got the best doctors, and he died. He died because the Most High said, "Okay, that part of the prophecy is fulfilled. I don't need him no more." Bam, give him put a sickness on him. Take his ass out the picture, because he wasn't supposed to be able to take out the Persians because they were so vast. But the reason being is because they were fulfilling prophecy. Same thing with Esau. Esau is going down now. Esau is done. Maybe 6 months from now, a year and a half, 2 years, I don't see this man going another 10 years. Are you kidding me? I don't see him going another 5 years. There's only one prophecy that's holding the destruction back, and that's the charagma. As soon as they push out the charagma and test everybody, um, that's when everything, we're gonna be out of here. When they put, I can't wait that they push the charagma and force it on people. Because I'll say this: once they push it on that level, and some of us get put to death and locked up and shit, we should be out of here inside of months, maybe 3 months. Everything's gonna move super fast. So we're gonna praise Yahweh by Shem Shai when they push that charagma. So we want it to come. It says a he goat with a conspicuous horn between his eyes, appearing from the west, attacked the ram, the Medo-Persian Empire, mainly the Persians, they were the power of the two, and beat it down to the ground. The empire of Greeks, the horn. Daniel 8, verse 21, being Alexander the Great. I don't got to read the rest of these commentators. They all say the same thing. They all agree. Anyway, with that, that's why prophecy is so important. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom.